time for money. That is all that I ever knew. What I thought work is to be able to just give you my time and you give me some money, and that's it. That's how work is. That's how work is done. And over the past few years, I've learned something new. I run a video production and photography company successfully over the last 5 years. And I've been continuing to work to grow this business, learn new skills, and go in a direction to where time for money isn't a problem for me anymore. We're going to dive deep into this story. This is The Inward Mind. Welcome to the Inward Mind podcast. This is Billy M. Ward here. And as you can see, I'm by myself. I'm by myself in my studio. My guest ended up getting sick and was not able to make it today. So I'm going to tell you my story. I'm going to dive deep into how I've built my video production company and how I've continued to seek after going away from that time for money mantra that I have always grown up with. And that most people we know, that's how they make their money. And this whole thing started for me. And I want to say, I'll get to the story, but I want to say it all started for me back in high school, right? I learned how to run video cameras and photo cameras and how to be able to do the things to make videos and photos look good. But in the back of my mind is like, I got to go to college, and I have to go to college because I want to be a doctor. That's all I want to do. I got these great grades. I graduated high school with a 3.95 GPA, ready to go dive into college and do these things. But it was that same thing that happened right outside of high school. I decided, cool, I'm going to college. I went to the University of Utah, and I dove right into school. I was like, cool, I'm going to go to the pre-med classes. I'm going to do all of the science things. I'm going to go get my degree in exercise and sports science because I love sports too, and I'm going to go from there. So about roughly 2 years into college, I realized like, man, I don't like college. I don't like the whole atmosphere of college that much. And I also don't like the things that it would take to be a doctor. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to continue to seek after and do something, but I had to dig deep down. Like, what is my motivation? What internally am I doing to want to become a doctor? And I was like, oh, cool, it's money. I was like, oh, cool. I would make more money as a doctor, a neurosurgeon, anesthesiologist than I would doing something else. But I would just have all this money. That was my main motivation behind it. And come to find out that wasn't necessarily true of where I wanted to go. The work that needed to be put in for the money motivation wasn't actually there. So I had a friend approach me. His name is Nick. And he's like, dude, I got this opportunity. And for you, anybody who lives in Utah, you know where this is going. That opportunity was a network marketing company. And people are like, Billy, network marketing, pyramid schemes. What are you doing, bro? Well, that's the thing, as I didn't know any different. I didn't know there was other ways to make money, and network marketing exposed me to the ability and the thinking that I could do something for myself differently. And that I worked with that network marketing company for a couple of years and talked to maybe some of you who are listening to this podcast about that network marketing company. And it was great. And I learned a lot, and I had a lot of mentors who made lots more money than me, a lot more experience in things. But my main shift from doing that company was I don't have to exchange my time for money. I can put in some effort in some ways, and that could help benefit me in the long run. Right? I put in some effort, and it's not just everything. And I'm not saying that residual income or all of these things are just this magical thing that are just going to bring in money. But I was searching for how much effort can I put in towards something that will pay me more money later down the line, not just an upfront cost, but things like that. So I searched out, did network marketing for a couple years, and it didn't work out. The company, wouldn't say is a bad company, or any of the people who I worked with were bad. It just didn't fit who I was. Truly, I wanted to be able to help people in whatever way that came to it. And I thought network marketing was the case, and it really wasn't. So I moved on from that, and I met my now wife around the ending times of me being in that network marketing company. And we ended up getting married. And a couple months after getting married, we ended up getting pregnant. And I, being a guy who was working in the midst of that, kind of jumped over a little bit of the story. In the midst of that phase between network marketing and getting married, I worked for Black Rifle Coffee Company. And I helped them launch their retail store at their corporate office in Salt Lake City. And I just didn't like working there either. I was working a retail job. I've worked multiple retail jobs in the past. And I helped them go from really small amount of sales in a month to a lot of money in sales every single month within the store. And I didn't make a single dollar extra. I made the same amount of money from when I started working there till when I left. But even though I helped grow something for them to a whole new level, I got no benefit from it. So backtracking a little bit or going forward to that story of me and my wife got pregnant unexpectedly. In the midst of me working with Black Rifle, I was like, I don't want to work here, but I want to do video. And I was thinking, I could go work for Black Rifle. They have a whole video section. They do make really funny commercials. They do all of these things. How about I just go work for their video production section? Maybe I can transfer over. Well, come to find out, that entire section was moving to Texas. And I was like, well, I'm not taking my pregnant wife and me and her just going straight to Texas on something that I don't know could even pan out or won't pan out down the line. So maybe I'll do something else. And I ended up having a conversation. Me and my father-in-law, Keith, who was on the first episode. If you haven't watched that episode, it's great talking about leadership. But my father, Keith, was like, hey, listen, if you want to start something and do something for yourself, you should probably do it right now. And I was like a little nervous, but at the same time, he's right. The guy has 7 kids, right? So he knows that if you wait a couple years till you have a bunch of kids, you won't be able to really do what you want to do. It's going to take a lot more effort and a lot more force behind it to get that rolling. So 2018, I was like, you know what? We're going to do this. I already had a camera that I bought for when I was taking some photography classes and stuff in college. I was like, cool, it does video too. I'll do both. So I took the time and I got a loan and I got this really cool thing called a stabilizer, 3-axis gimbal by DJI. It's a DJI Ronin S. It was a powerhouse. But for me, taking out a loan to be able to get a piece of equipment, I've never done anything like that before. I'm like, how am I going to be able to even pay this back? And so I used that and utilized that old camera in those skills. It was a Canon T3i that I was using. It was old. It was definitely outdated. It couldn't do everything. The autofocus wasn't really good. But I just used that and that Ronin to be able to modify my skills. I just had a kit lens, 16 to 35 millimeter lens, and I just did everything. And I tried to learn as much as I possibly could. How do I make my videos look good? How do I try and learn my white balance and all these magical things that people who run cameras know how to do, right? And I spent all this time through 2018. And in the midst of all of that, I was like, cool, I started my LLC. I got all my business things running. It's going to explode. And I started doing videos in June-ish of that year of 2018, and my videos were terrible. I committed to a year of doing videos on YouTube. I was releasing a video every single month, but it was without any direction. I would just make some random video, and you can check them out. They're on this channel. I'd make some random video for the week, and I'd just create something like, cool, there's my YouTube video. This is going to make me famous. And on top of that, I had no strategy on how to build my business. I had no strategy on how to work. So at the end of 2018, I made roughly $3,000-ish with my video production company. I had a couple breaks here and there. I filmed a couple plays. I did a couple different things, and I was just like, cool, this can work. I've never made any money outside of exchanging time for money, but this can work. And in the meantime, while people are kind of curious, I drove Lyft and Uber in all my other downtime. When I wasn't doing anything with video or photos, that's what I did. Is I drove from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., sometimes later, sometimes in the middle of the night. It really would depend on where the needs were for me and my wife financially. And so in the meantime, she was working too. And then we rolled into 2019, and my wife was due in February. And I figured, well, let's keep rolling. Let's keep doing this. And even then, I made $3,000 in 2018, 2019 rolling around. Business wasn't booming. We had our daughter. Everything went well with that. But then throughout 2019, I didn't really do a lot. I did a couple things here and there, small videos, and I didn't make much money as a video production company and photography company. Did a couple weddings, did so many free videos for people. I can't even count how many free videos that I did to be able to try and build my business. But in the midst of all of that, I made enough money to be able to buy a new camera. It's this camera right there. I still use it. It's the Canon EOS R. And I've used that thing I've made thousands of videos with that camera. I'm hoping it lasts for a little while longer, but that thing's on its last legs. It's dying over there because it's been used so much. But I've continued to build and work, and I've acquired some lenses and some other things. And then right in the midst of it, 2019, things were starting to take off. And we all know what happened in 2020. COVID struck everybody. And the rug was pulled out from underneath me. I was like, oh, cool. Well, I can't drive, Lyft, and Uber because nobody's going anywhere. Nobody wants to be in the vicinity of another person because there was a pandemic going on. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, we'll see what happens. And then a few days later after that, my wife was laid off from her job because she worked at a coffee shop at a private business, but they weren't even having anybody come into the office anymore. So in the midst of that, we lost all income, and a lot of people did in 2020, and we lived off of, in 2020, COVID relief funds. Everything that we did, we paid off lots of debt and tried to continue to push in the direction that we needed to go. But that's what we lived off. We lived off COVID relief funds for most of the year. And come towards the end of 2020, after all the craziness, and there was still a lot of craziness going on at the end of 2020, I had two opportunities plop into my lap. Well, the first one was I'm sitting, and it's right across the street from where I'm at. There's a Lego, I'd say it's like a Lego kind of pawn shop called Bricks and Minifigs. You can go buy, trade, sell Legos. And I met a guy. He gave me a phone call. I put my name on Thumbtack, I think it was. And for people who don't know what Thumbtack is you pay to get leads. People reach out to you, and then you'll get paid so much, or you pay them so much based on the lead that you got. And I was getting outrageous amounts of money that I'm paying to get these leads that weren't very good. And kind of on the off put, I had my number on my profile. Some guy called me and he's like, hey, listen. He owned 2 Bricks and Minifigs, and he's like, hey, listen, I'm doing an educational course for Lego, and it's going to be in the STEAM modules, which I was like, what's STEAM? And then he's like, oh no, science, technology, education, arts, and math. And I was like, oh, cool. We'll do some cool things. And we have a Lego artist who's going to be running this thing. And I was like, oh, she's going to be the one on screen. I was like, okay, cool. So in the midst of that, we started for the next 6 months working on building this educational course. And the lady who was on camera, her name is Jen Smart. She ended up being on Lego Masters after the end of that. And which was really cool because being able to know somebody who's being on Lego Masters, watching that stuff, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm starting to build my portfolio. And as we continued to build that educational course, I started to have a couple more opportunities fall into my lap. I worked with a construction company, and I started doing safety and training videos with them. And I loved / hated that. I worked in construction, so I understand the industry, which gave me a leg up on typical video people. But I just kept working and trying to strive to build my craft and get better left and right. And then it just continued into 2021. That's when things started to pick up. I started to make more money. I was like, cool. This is valid. I can do this. I can run a video production company. I can make this work. I can continue to do this, and we'll go from there. And we found out we were pregnant with our second kid in the midst of 2021. I was like, sweet, we can make this work. We can do this. I can do all of this stuff. And we ended up going through 2021, had a pretty decent year, and moving into 2022, that's where things started to really change for me. I had a couple opportunities that plopped into my lap early on in the midst of the beginning of 2021 that helped. If most of you who are in the video space don't know what retainer clients are, retainers are basically you get a client and every single month they pay you a specific amount of money, you produce a specific amount of content. And one of those companies reached out to me, and I ended up doing a retainer deal for 10 months out of the year. And I was like, sweet. This covers all of my bills. This one video job covers all of my bills, and everything else is extra. So I just continue to keep building and pushing. And we had continue to work with that client. Actually, still today, I still do some video work with them. But then I also, in the midst of that, I ended up working with the Utah Warriors, the professional rugby team. And that's been a cool experience in the meantime. I've been on the sidelines filming behind the scenes video content, but also during the games trying to capture all of the action sports shots and things like that. And over that, I've been working with them for the past couple of years, and I've loved working with Utah Warriors. Rugby is a passion of mine, and I probably could dive into that story. I played rugby in high school and move everything around because I think rugby is my favorite sport, but I would move everything around to be able to do as much video content in the rugby space as possible. But I've learned. And now 2023 was great too. I had lots of opportunity there. Worked with The Chosen, worked the Warriors again. I've worked with massive companies like Clyde, which is a construction company who owns a couple different construction companies here in Utah. Like I said, working on The Chosen, being able to go to Vid Summit and plan all of these other things. And I have continued to work and push in the direction I wanted to go. And I know this kind of Billy's talking about all the video work and the things that he has done, but this is all a crucial part of the story. Is one thing is I never gave up. I never once thought that I would get to the level that where I'm at now, but at the same time, I never gave up when I thought that it was over, right? In the midst of COVID, I could have quit and it's like, okay, cool, I'm done. I can go get a job and work somewhere else again. In the midst of all of that, I could have just given up. And there's been so many times that I've just thought that I could just stop doing what I'm doing and I could just go get a job and I can go back to school, go get a degree, go do all of those things. And I just never gave up on this goal. And I'm going to continue to work on this goal every single day of my life. I'm going to continue to keep pushing to do something for myself, whether it's this in the Inward Mind podcast, which I have found a love and a passion for podcasting. And I just continue to strive to make this the best that I can for you guys, and make this the best I can for anybody who wants to watch and listen to this podcast. And I'm just going to keep bringing on the best guests and bring you the best stories. But one thing I'm going to leave with you is never give up. Whatever you're doing, whether you're flipping couches, buying them, getting them for free and flipping them on a Facebook Marketplace or some sort of classified website, or you're building your own brand or business or social media, just don't give up, right? Most people nowadays are too weak in the mind to continue to push themselves to get what they want. A lot of people just give up. Don't give up. Keep working towards it, and you will get it eventually. You just got to outlast the people. And guess what? You also have to be honest with yourself. You might suck at that thing and you might never be good. You might have to just pivot and do something else, but don't give up. Whatever you're doing, keep working, keep pushing, and you will finally get what you want. And that mantra, like I said, exchanging time for money, it doesn't matter. You can do something for yourself. You can continue to work for yourself, continue to build your social media, continue to do something big, but never give up. Keep working and you'll get it. Thanks for joining me today. This is The Inward Mind.